Welcome to No Border Blues with Johnny Bergen and Stephanie Tice, a podcast about international blues artists you should know about and the sometimes surprising hidden blues scenes around the world. Johnny is a Delmark recording artist who regularly tours and collaborates with international blues players. And Stephanie recently produced the No Border Blues Japan CD, the first American compilation of the underground Japanese blues scene. This show is sponsored by Chicago Blues Network, bringing Chicago blues to the world.
Hi, this is Johnny Bergen with No Border Blues. Today we have a great guest, Little Victor. Little Victor is currently residing in the UK, and he has lived and played the blues in Memphis, in New Orleans, in Paris, and all over. He's had a storied career as a musician and a producer, also as a DJ, where he is known as the Mojo Man, and he's put out a lot of great reissue recordings on the Koko-Mojo label. I'm very pleased to have musician and producer Little Victor with us here today.
Thank you, Johnny, for having me here. I would like to do a song actually I wrote when Louisiana Red passed away in 2012, but I never had the heart to record it because every time I wanted to do that was too painful, so I kind of put it away. But last year, a friend of mine, harmonica player called Roger Wade, Roger is from England, but he lives in Germany. He asked me to do some remote recording, from home. And that was the first probably album ever recorded remotely. I did my vocals and guitar here. I sent it to him. Joe, he overdubbed harmonica. My good friend Jack Rooney overdub bass, and I did the song on this record called The Lockdown Session. I will send you a copy. It's on Crosscut, and
Great.
It's all recorded. It's probably the first album, surely is the first blues album totally recorded that way, with somebody doing something here, another guy doing overdubbing there. And the song is called The Death of Louisiana Red. This morning, Louisiana Red was dead and gone. Woke up this morning, Louisiana Red was dead and gone. As if they proved by the waters, you know your son Red is coming home. Well, I heard the news. I sat on my bed and cried. Well, I heard the news. I was on my bed and cried. I said the apology. You found the miss you. Bye. taught me everything I know. Louisiana Red was a wonderful man. You taught me everything I know. Well, earth is so enchanted, I'll never see old red. Into the blues, Nick. Sorry, man.
That sounded like $1 million.
I don't know about that. Sorry. I'm getting emotional when I do the song. I'm sorry. You want me to redo it, or
No.
was good enough?
It's great. It was really great. And, you know, I know you were very close to him. So to perform that song
you know,
really...
When Red passed away, I lost my meal ticket because it was a good gig. I lost a musical partner, but to me it was like a member of the family, you know. You tour with a lot of old guys, man. It's not just having another band member. It's like your grandpa, you know. You got to make sure it's okay. He sits next to the toilet when you travel on the train. He takes his pills, you know. He's got his Bible, he's got his glasses, he's got everything. You know,
So
it's like babysitting.
He traveled with the Bible?
Oh, yeah. I bought him a King James Bible, you know. Oh, you know what? You saw a book from the 70s, you know, some kind of a Afro-American religious book called The Way. And they had a picture of Muddy Waters, you know. When they said, Victor, man, I got to get me that Muddy Waters Bible.
Right. That was made for him. So
Oh,
let
man,
me back up a little bit,
I was
Victor.
the biggest Muddy Waters fan in the world when I met Louisiana Red. Oh, Lord. It would pray to Muddy Waters before going to bed. You know, it would be like, oh, Muddy Waters.
Let me ask you a little bit for our listeners who don't know. You had a long history with Louisiana Red, and you did Back to the Blues Bayou, which was
Black
which was
Bayou.
a very back to the. Excuse me. Let me say it again. You did Back to the Black Bayou.
We'll fix it in the mix, John.
On Ruf Records. And it was a very successful record. So tell us a little bit about that record and about your association with Louisiana Red and who Louisiana Red was to you.
I've been a Louisiana Red fan ever since I was probably 13 or 15. I bought an album on Ruf Records. It was a vinyl record called The Lowdown Front Porch Blues. And it was just Red playing very simple but gritty guitar. A guy playing like a TikTok bass, probably, I think it was Carl Lynch. Carl Lynch was a very good jazz player, but he had a small amp and a little, you know, those longhorn bass, short scale.
Right.
With a big boom, 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 boom.
TikTok bass. It's a great sound.
Yeah, and actually it was just Panama Francis on snare and hi-hat. He told me he had, he was living in New York in the early 60s, you know, a Roulette Records kind of, you know, was really interested in Louisiana Red because he, you know, it was a mix of like Elmer James, Muddy Waters, Jimmy Reed, all rolled up in one. So he wanted to record Red, but the boss man didn't want to pay for us at the time. So what he did, he invited Red after hours at his office at Roulette Records. He had a, you know, a tape machine with 2 mics. He said, come on, let's do some demos. So Red played through a little amp. He had a little Fender Stratocaster, I think. Panama Francis just brought like his snare and his hi-hat, and Carl Lynch just brought his little bass. And they recorded like 30 songs. So not only they had a single, they had like an album. I mean, you know, Red, oh Lord.
How did you meet Louisiana Red?
Oh, first time I heard of Red, actually, I thought a friend of mine showed me an acoustic album on Blue Labor, the one with the dark light. And to be honest, I thought Louisiana Red was blind because he sang like a blind person. You know what I'm saying? He had this rich gospel voice, like Ray Charles or Snoop Higgins, So first time I heard Louisiana Red, I thought he was blind. I was actually disappointed when I met him in person. Oh, he can see. Wow. I
but it turned out to be easier that way.
Could sing with so much, you know what I'm saying, so much feeling and stuff. So I bought this record when I was 13, and then I saw him. I fell in love with the music. I wanted to play guitar like Louisiana Red on that record. So I never wanted to play guitar. I wanted to play what he plays on that record. And I got close because I could do some stunts. Later on, I think Bob Corridor told me, man, if I close my eyes, I'm not sure if it's you playing or Red. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but Red.
That's a high compliment.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking, hey, man, the best compliment I ever had in my life. I've been playing since '81. I'm 54 now. I was playing solo guitar, man, and this guy with a Metallica t-shirt, man. He said, man, I saw live blues tonight, but man, you sound like an 85 years old from Mississippi or something. It was meant to be an insult.
And you're like, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Right?
Oh, okay. The guy expected probably some, blues hammer, some rock blues, because unfortunately what most people call blues, it ain't no blues, it's rock blues. So yeah, it was the biggest compliment ever.
I think you earned that one. So let me ask you something else, Victor. Let's move on.
Of course.
I remember that you kind of started your career earlier on in Memphis, and you were known as the Beale Street Bopper.
Beale Street Blues Bopper. Cousin Tav Falco came up with that, but I guess, when I was young, I was too young to go to the club, They would let me watch from the window. And when I was 15, 16, I loved the blues. I listened to the blues. I had a band. I could perform, but I could not stay in the club during breaks or instrumentals. So I had to be outside. Somebody from the family, my family had to be, or somebody in the band had to be responsible, 15 years old, 13 years old. So
your cousin is Tav Falco, and was he looking out for you? He was teaching you?
No drinking, which is weird because in the States, you can have your driving license when you're 15, like learner's permit. First car, first license, 16. You can join the army. You can kill. You can send off to war. You can get married. You're not a man enough to drink a Bud Light. You got to be 21. So I wasn't drinking back then, but...
So let me ask you this. I know that Tav Falco is your cousin and Dave Evans is your uncle.
Yes, my cousin, and is the one who came up with the Beale Street Blues Bopper. I used to spend summer holidays in Memphis. Tav used to live in Memphis, even if he's originally from Arkansas, from Gordon, Arkansas. And for a while, I lived with his mom, my auntie Rita. She took care of me. She was like a foster mom for me for a while, in my life. And I used to go and play. Guys were playing down the street at Church Park, Handy Park, what back in the day was called Church Park. Down on Beale Street, they had a park. They put a statue of the Handy that did not exist probably back in the day. And that's where all the blues guys from Mississippi actually play the blues. When you hear Beale Street, or you read Beale Street on a magazine, this music was not happening in the clubs. In the clubs, they played jazz with piano, horns, like swing or boogie-woogie. The greatest stuff was at Handy Park, actually. Guys from Mississippi, traveling musician, will play for tips. Memphis Minnie, Robert Johnson, you name it. Even Sam Phillips, when he wanted to record real blues guys, he would go to Beale Street, Church Park, and that's how he met, Dr. Ross and all these guys. The greatest stuff always was in Beale Street. When they reopened Beale Street in '82, a lot of blues guys moved back to Memphis and they start playing in the street. The city council will give you one plug, so you have to bring like a power bar and put everything on, And I was playing from 3 to 6 Monday to Saturdays with a gentleman called Uncle Ben Perry. He looked like Uncle Ben, He was from Virginia, was a retired merchant marine, and he only played in E and A, 2 keys. I played with him 3 to 6. So the first couple of months, I only played songs I knew. Then I played songs I heard, and then I just played.
Let me ask you this. Were you still... I noticed you've tuned down to open C, not open C, but down to C tuning.
Yeah.
You know, the low E string is all the way down to the pitch of C. Were you doing that back then?
No. Okay. When I started, I was singing. I started as a teenager, singing in a 50s rock and roll band. We did everything on Sun Records, I really got into music when I was 10 years old. Elvis Presley passed away. And it was front page news for months. Elvis this, Elvis that. After Elvis passed away, RCA made available all his early recordings. I remember the first album I ever bought with my pocket money, was like the Elvis Presley Song Collection. The first single Elvis ever recorded was That's Alright Mama with Blue Moon of Kentucky. So I tried to figure out who was the original guy, That's Alright Mama, and I discovered Arthur Big McCrillick, and wow. I tried to explore the countryside of Elvis, Bill Monroe, Blue Moon of Kentucky, sorry. It's
not the right thing for you. The blues had a calling for you.
I was singing rock and roll, what we call rockabilly in America, 50s rock and roll, but actually I found out what I really liked was the blues, but I didn't know I was white. I was the wrong color, wrong everything, too young, too everything, So it was totally, That's why I figured, okay, I cannot do blues and get away with it, but I can do rock and roll, and that's pretty close, from my point of view. I mean, I was, a kid. So the first years of my life, I just sang in the 50s rock and roll band. I had the big hair. I was good looking. I had the moves. I couldn't really sing, but hey, I learned, You get the gig, and then, okay, I was screaming from the throat. Then you learn, and little by little. And to be honest, to be a good blues singer or just acceptable, it's a long way, man. It's a long way.
It is a long way, and you've done a lot in your. It takes 20 years to make a blues man, and I want to ask you about a couple of your own records. I really like Deluxe Lo-Fi and Boogie All Night Long. Why don't you tell us a little bit about either one of those records?
I wanted to make a Memphis blues record in a spirit of Sun, because I became a big Sun record fan. I started with the rock and roll thing, Jerry Lee Lewis and all that, of course. And then I discovered Junior Parker, Howlin' Wolf, wow, all the blues guys on Sun. And I found out that actually Sam Phillips moved to Memphis to record black guys. It was not into, it was into white guys. But when Elvis walked in, it was too big to be ignored. So, okay, So I wanted to do a proper Memphis blues, like early 50s, like with the Willie Johnson guitar, but I couldn't find musicians in Memphis that played that style. So I had to go to Phoenix, Arizona. That was in 2004, 2005. And I teamed up with the great Johnny Rapp, who could really play like the Willie.
I know Johnny Rapp. We've played together.
Yeah. I've got Mario Moreno,
great player,
guitar player, but also very good upright bass, very solid. He has the tough green kind of thing. And on drummer, I have Brian Fahey on a few songs, but Brian is too good. Everything sounds like all these great Chicago drummers or great blues drummers. He sounds like I wanted somebody to play like Willie Nix or Willie Steele, boom, chop, boom, chop, boom. Play 2 beats on a 4/4 beat. So I got Bill Tarsha, who's a great harmonica player, but also plays drums. And Bill used to play drums in his high school. Then he stopped. He focused on harmonica for many years. And he got back on the drums, but he was in his late 50s, early 60s. But he plays raw. You know what I'm saying?
So he was giving you what you needed because you were going for a more primitive and kind of a less polished sound,
Brian,
right?
And Brian's wife say, Victor, why haven't you used Brian on more songs? They say, it's too good. It's going to ruin my record. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I really like that aesthetic, and not many people can do it well. And it seems like that's something you've brought to other artists, like when you've produced other artists. I admire what you've done. You've had Sophie Kay Juke and Gala and Jelly Roll Man. Just tell me about like your sort of goals and your methods as a producer.
You know, Johnny, when I started out, I didn't like my voice. I still don't like it, but you know, I consider myself like an old Chevy truck. I'm no Cadillac, I ain't no Jaguar, I ain't no Rolls Royce, but you gotta be credible. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't born with the pipe, so that's why I tuned my guitar down. I learned how to play guitar just watching guitar players. I was playing harmonica. Uncle Ben played in E and A with 2 fingers. So one song was in E and the other one was in A. I bought him a capo. I said, what is this? A capo? You can play F, you can play G, you know, something, you know what it is.
Right.
And, oh, well, thank you, Victor, you know. And he put it away. And he never used it again. So after 2 weeks, say, man, have you ever tried the capo? Where's the capo I gave you? Oh, it's in my guitar thing. I opened the little guitar, you know, the little compartment. He had 5 capos. We never used them. I ain't gonna choke my bed guitar with this mofo, you know. He said, you know, Victor, when you play every key, you're singing. Elmer James only sang in 1 key, D, only played in 1 key. So when you hit that D, boom. He said, when I was younger, I used to play every key, I used to sing in every key. Now if I don't get it in E, I'll get it in A. Less is more. You know,
right,
back then I was a teenager, I couldn't get it. I was like, okay, you don't want to learn.
Right.
Or you
understand more later.
He was right. Found this Nirvana was E and A. And to be honest, that's all I play. I only play E and A. So the thing is, I learned how to play guitar, E, A position, but my voice sounds better in C.
Right.
So, you know, I had to tune down my guitar because, let me tell you, no matter how good you play guitar, no matter how great you sound when you play guitar, to me, the problem with white folks, but also black guys sometimes, sounds like they've been playing guitar 20 years and sang for 20 minutes. You know.
That is a really good point.
And to be honest,
so you're just looking at the big picture as a producer and trying to make up for those kind of deficiencies and get an authentic sound. Is that sort of where you're going?
I think you can, you know, Slim Harpo didn't have a great voice. You know, actually, J.D. Miller told him, try to sing through your noise because he doesn't sing. But I love Slim Harpo because it's blues. Billy Boy Arnold, he doesn't sound like Wolf or Muddy, but, you know, it's still Tamperette, sounds white. Sounds like a lady sometime, you know, or J.B. Lammer, you know. So all this fake tough guy vocals, I mean, if you can open your mouth and you sound like Wolf, great. I know a few white guys actually, they have a gift, you know. But to be acceptable and get away with it when you don't have the gift, you know, like Dr. John was one of the guy I was looking because Dr. John didn't really have the pipes, right? But he got away with it. He found a way, you know, you got to be cool. You got to be credible. Same thing on guitar. You can be like Earl Hooker. You can be I don't know, man, John Lee Hooker. As long as it's blues, for my money. So one thing I learned was to get away with it without being a great singer. Not that I wasn't good, but I didn't have the right type of voice. I'm not a great harp player. I don't consider myself a great guitar player, but let me tell you, great don't mean anything. You got to be the right guy, play the right part in the right style. This, for me, it's more, you know, when I was younger, I was putting bands together. I remember in Memphis, then I moved to Austin, Texas. I would go to Blues Jam and, oh, this guy is the best bass player. This guy is the best drummer. Sometimes you have a very good drummer, very good bass player, and you don't have a good rhythm section because they don't talk to each other. Yeah.
It's true. It's about compatibility and feel.
Exactly.
It's not about anything else. So I wanted to ask you, speaking of Austin, I know that you played a lot with Hubert Sumlin in Austin, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what you learned from that and what it was like for you? I met
Hubert when he was living in Austin for a while, played for Anthem, you know, from Anthem's,
yes.
You know, the blues club in Austin, right? Clifford was still running the place. Just got him a place to stay and gave him some money, and he was the best with everybody. If you had a Wednesday night at Anthem's, you know, they were going to say, hey, do you mind Hubert Sumlin playing with your band? Hell no! You know, here, you know, I push away my guitar player, you know.
This is No Border Blues.
So me and Huber got friends. We had this thing, and he would eventually come back to Austin, and I would drive him around or play harmonica behind him. I wasn't playing guitar, but just watching Huber. Wow. When you see Huber playing Smokestack Lightning, you go like, It ain't nothing to it. You know what I'm saying? But you go, Huber was so much like Red because, he would play like very softly, and on the guitar break, it would turn down. So you have to, that's why I didn't like what Chicago blues became in the 80s and the 90s, very loud. He couldn't find his way. You have to play. That's why I always like to play with Willie Big Guy Smith or his son, Kenny, because dynamics, bring it down, bring it up. Nowadays everything is like.
And you have more dynamics when you play with your fingers.
Yeah, I played with Huber. I never was in a band, but I was mostly, taking care of him. I was driving him around. Huber is one of the few guys, the American guys, who never got a driving license. So, you have to pick him up and you have to take him home. And sometimes, I was tired, man, 3 o'clock in the morning. Victor, man, if I don't eat now, I'm going to have nightmare. You want to have a bite to eat? Say, man, I'm going to have nightmares if I'm going to eat. If I'm going to eat. So you have to drive him somewhere and convince the guy to, put the grill back on.
Oh, yeah, because he's closing up.
Yeah,
the guy's closing up, and he's like, come on, man, I want to eat something.
I'm here with you for something, man. I don't care if you're here with Jesus. I want to go home. And of course, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning, Huber was taking a mighty long time reading the menu. Let me see. And the guy was getting nervous, starting to dive. It was Huber, eat something. And no matter what it was, no matter what he ordered, when the food came, Huber would think, that's not what I wanted. Shut up and eat.
Man.
I mean, Red was a little bit like this, was a big kid. I remember one day we were on the way to Belgium to play a big festival after a show in Holland. And in Holland, they have cows. You drive and you have cows on both sides of the road, right? Red wanted to stop the car and pet the cow. I said, Red, we have an early show, we're late. 5 minutes, Victor. Oh, I love you, cow. It was petting the cow. So we arrived at the place, the promoter was there. Big festival. You can sing this festival with Bobby Rush, with all the big names. And, it's not a bar. We were supposed to play at 3 p.m. We arrived there at 2:45.
Oh,
so
God.
Basically, I just walked on stage without changing clothes. I pull out my guitar and start playing. So Red walked on stage during my, I usually would do 2 or 3 songs. And it plugged in. I didn't have time to tune this guitar. So he played, not really. It was playing in tune and like this. And Red was a bit tired because he was old. He had 2 strokes and all that. So he had to be very focused too. But man, it would stop and we were falling. It would stretch out 14 bars and a half. We would follow, And we made it through. After the show, Larry Bell was also on the show. And Larry, when he saw Red, oh man, he was crying. I think Red, when he was living in Chicago with his family, gave him his first guitar. Red and Carrie Bell played together for many years and were very good friends. And it was magical. And actually got compliments. I think it was Larry's color. It was Larry said, man, how can you follow Red? I said, well, it's like a ball game. Follow the ball. With these guys, you don't follow, you say 12 bars, 8 bars.
No, and you can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And I noticed that when you did the Death of Louisiana Red, you had some extra bars in there and some different changes, but it sounded perfectly natural. I really liked that.
Well, Muddy Waters, I got it from Red.
Yeah,
the problem with Red always sounded great by itself, sounded great with a harmonica player, sounded great with a piano player sometimes, But every time he played in a band, the band couldn't follow him. Don't get me wrong.
Until he met Little Victor's juke joint.
Well, was actually a point of honor for me, Johnny, to give Red a band that would make him sound just as good as the solo stuff, you know. But don't get me wrong, I don't blame the musicians. Sometimes they discover, oh, you're going to play with Red like 15 minutes before the show. Oh, really? I have to play with this guy? Oh, okay, who? So they have no way, they didn't know the repertoire. And Red was very hard to follow, man. Red would put his glasses, sit down, play his guitar, and play. And he didn't know anything. We'll put the capo between two bars. And it was like, okay, it's between SR. I mean, it was the G and A, and he wouldn't say nothing. So I had to do stuff. So Red would sit down. I would go on the edge of the stage. So every time it would change, I would like give an eye to the bass player. So it was like the mirror. It could see me. And that's the way we did it. And I can show you this video. It's live in New Casino, man. Red is totally off the charts, off the hook. And no matter where it goes, we're there. It takes a break, upside down, the drummer, goes upside, cannot get rid of us. I got a lot of compliment, but more than playing music was like juggling. It was like a circus, man.
But that works for you because it's spontaneous and
it keeps it fresh, John. This music, come on. You got to make it a bit unpredictable or not so boring. That's the problem. Often when I listen to new blues, I know exactly how it's going to be. It's like when you watch those cheap series. Okay, the good guy is L.A. Cobb, the bad guy kills his best friend. It's revenge. Don't you have another story? Don't you have another idea? So even if I do something like the Dust My Broom riff or Standing Here Trembling, I'm not going to play 12 bars. I'm going to make it a bit difficult for the guys to follow me, but it works and it makes it a bit fresher, not so predictable. So I had to become my own producer because I didn't know nobody. And I like the old school sound, the late 50s, early 50s sound. I can go for 60s, but in the 60s, studios got huge, a lot of reverb. Even Muddy Waters in the 60s got a big twin. He sounds like the Beach Boys. Surfing you, very clean, very clingy. I like tubes, small lamps in a small room. You get a different vibe, Even stuff from the 50s, even Muddy Water, you listen to the 60s stuff.
Right, there's a change.
One guitar here, one guitar there, very clean Telecaster sound, It ain't the same. You know what? Okay, Muddy Waters, for my money, it's just like sex or pizza. Even when it ain't too good, still pretty good.
Only an Italian would say that.
It's always good. And I'm a big Muddy Waters fan. My first concert, like big arena concert, was Muddy Waters in 1980. I was 13 years old, and man, I don't even remember much. But Muddy Waters really had this Telecaster where, like, you played two notes from his line. It was like, wow, what happened? Wow. It was a big revelation. So I thought I was a big Muddy Waters fan, but Louisiana Red, man, can beat me at my own game. But this is a story from Bob Corritor, actually. He told me when he first started to play with him, he said, Bobby, man, get me some Ultrabright, the toothpaste. Why you want some Ultrabright? And he couldn't find it anywhere. After 3 days, he said, why you want to use Ultrabright for? That's what Muddy used.
I love that.
No, man. When I heard the story, I went on eBay and I bought me some Ultrabright from the early 70s, hoping that I don't know, man, maybe they changed the formula, go figure.
Well, very cool.
A guy came with a guitar, a kid came with a Silverton before his show. He came backstage, man, let me tell you. And Red played the guitar. Wow, great. He played the song. Can I play? Yeah. He played the song with it. After the show, he said, I like this guitar, kid. Give it to me. I said, well, I've spent money fixing it and I like it. Okay, the original pocket. Takes a piece of paper, 25 cents. Here, I'll give you this. You want to buy my guitar with 25 cents? Muddy Waters gave me that coin. Maybe it did. Send it to the lab. Muddy Waters.
And he carried it around. He carried it. Oh my God, that's craziness, man. Do you want to play some more for us?
Yeah, I will do a number.
I'd love to hear you do something off Boogie All Night Long.
All right, Boogie All Night. That's for you, Johnny. And the children too. I want to boogie too. Boogie out. Boogie out. Boogie will give how you can't go wrong. All right. All around this world, we got boogie. Boogie out now. Boogie out now. Boogie, how you can't go wrong. Can't go wrong, son.
Nice job.
It's so very much.
Nice job, man.
Pass the hat.
Yeah.
England is a bit like America, but it's shorter drive, you know. If you want to be really treated as an artist, you got to go to France, Germany, you know. There, you're a musician, you're an artist. Wow, I always love artists.
I understand, man.
Sounds
that was my experience as well. And, you know, you really are an artist. You have your own vision of how things ought to go, and you stay true to that,
Yeah.
you know. And I admire what you do. Is there anything that you think?
I really like what you're doing too, man. Hey, years ago when I started slowing down because Red passed away, and to be honest, man, with Red I had a really good gig going. You know, I was the band leader.
Yeah.
So money was getting really good after Back to the Black Bayou, you know, especially in the alternative rock circles. They saw Red as the next R.L. Burnside, you know. So, and Back to the Black Bayou really like crossed over. It's blues. You heard the song. You heard the album.
Yes.
It's blues is old school, but also has a contemporary sound. Something for everybody. Because I know people that doesn't listen to the blues, they love that. Punk rockers or, you know, some kind of people into the grunge scene. I don't even know. They love the record, you know. I know Brian.
It's a great record, and it found an audience, man. So, I mean, it was a big accomplishment. It says in your bio you were encouraged by the great writer and your uncle David Evans to do some demos with Alex Chilton.
No, actually, my Uncle Dave, actually, I would try to play, you know, I was trying to say, okay, hey, you know, and after a while, it ain't rocket science, you know what I'm saying, you know? You go, and Alex Chilton, man, and I've been playing guitar like for a month, and Alex Chilton said, man, I can't believe you can play like that after a month. But the thing is, Johnny, I was playing harmonica with a rec. I said, I've been trying to play harmonica and guitar like you for 20 years, man. Alex was a great guitar player, great songwriter, you know, guy from Big Star, Panther
Yeah,
Burns,
of course.
The Cramps, of course. He got really into guitar. He was a very good guitar player. But it was amazing that somebody like me with no knowledge, no technique whatsoever, in only a few weeks could play that way. But you know, I think, Johnny, if you listen to the blues, if you already have in your head, you know, this thing, and you watching a guy playing, you know, the same thing over and over again, whether you like it or not, or you want it or not, after, you know, I didn't have to learn. It's just, okay.
You just started doing it. You just.
So I decided to help other people because I retired, I semi-retired after Back to the Black Bayou. Red got sick. and eventually he passed away in 2012. And man, it was not a good time for me. For a couple of years, I was really deep down in the rabbit hole, tried to fight depression and other problems. So I stopped. But I say, you know what? I can produce other guys, because if I can make myself sound good, or sound good, proper, sound credible, probably I can do the same thing for other people. And I remember after a show, after a show, my adrenaline was running wild. It's 4 o'clock, but you cannot sleep because you played a show. And
right. I
was watching television, and I watched a TV show called Extreme Relooking. They will take a girl with bad teeth and fake glasses, acne, bad haircut, but clothes. Just nice haircut, a little bit of makeup, good clothes. She was like, "Wow, that's wonderful." Same thing. I'm not changing people. Everybody's got one thing is good at, and I can, for a record, I can make anybody sound good. I took the guys from the Jerry Roll Man who wanted to sound like, early Chicago, but it didn't sound like that at all. No problem. I showed everybody what to play right before cutting every song. I told the drummer, now don't play a double shuffle. Okay, play ta-ta, ta-ta, ta. Okay. I told the bass player, before the four, go. Okay. It works.
I really like the technique of showing somebody right before they do it, and then it's like the only thing in their head, and they just do it, and it sounds totally new that way. That's a good trick.
I said, "Oh, Victor, I'm not sure I can remember it tomorrow. Can you do it for 5 minutes?" Yeah,
right.
Don't worry. And
that's a really good trick. I really like that. And
I shouldn't say that.
Oh, I want to do that on my next record.
Nobody will harm me anymore. So of course it's easy when you produce somebody like, I don't know, Arrell Burnside or Louisiana Red. The great singers, they're American, they're the shit. Try somebody from Europe who doesn't speak English, who doesn't understand English, and make him sound credible. That's a hell of a job, man.
It is, and you really did something with that, man. But Victor,
when CD sales dropped, a lot of bands don't think they have 2,000 or 3,000 to put. They don't even know what a producer is in a blues. If it's real blues, usually they record a live set, right? Or a few songs they like, they pick 12, 13 they like. There's no production. There's no thinking behind.
It's true.
That was great in the 50s, and it works probably with great blues guys, but sometimes you need a little bit more. You got to say, now let's do this, let's do that. Let's try to do the thing. I'm an artistic producer.
I definitely would have benefited from a producer at various times in my career, and honestly, I've never had one, to your point.
That's why I had to take the bull by the horn, Johnny. I had the same problem you had. But it's always good to have somebody on the other side of the glass.
It is.
And you only focus. You don't have to worry
especially someone like you, because you have a wide palette of sounds. You can find like what the right fit is. You've got a lot to draw from.
When you put one of my records on, one of my own bands I produce, the first thing I want people to wonder is that recorded now, or it's an old recording from, is this the 50s or 60s, or it's now, So the more I keep them guess, the better it is. After a while, they say, okay, no, it's not 50s, even if it sounds like it. Is the guy white or black?
If you can have those two questions, then you definitely did something right.
So more kudos for me as a producer, because sometimes I like to sing through harmonica mics or lo-fi and make the vocals a little muffled, so you cannot tell if the guy is a black guy, is a white singer. Sounds a bit okay. It's just a little bit, and then they have to go. Is the guy American or not? So the more, the longer I keep them guessing, the better it is for me as a producer, because there's not many records you put on.
That's a great goal. That's a great goal. I really like that you said that.
Now that I'm not touring, I'm not producing, I'm here in lockdown, I've been doing a lot of compilations for Koko-Mojo Records. I've been collecting 45s, blues 45s, since I was a kid. Yeah, you got that. Yeah. That's a Mojo Man special, and it's all, that's a Koko-Mojo showcase. Go figure it out. I think we don't have a website anymore, but on Discogs.com, Koko-Mojo Records.
Koko-Mojo Records.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a lot of blues
the Mojo
and
Man
stuff.
DJ.
Yeah. I try to replicate the feeling, the vibe of playing a blues 45 through a jukebox, through a tube jukebox. Because back in the day, that's what they wanted. They wanted the single, the 78 or the 45, to be loud and to be like really bombastic when people would play it, on the jukebox. When people would play it on the radio, you had to scream out of the speakers,
Right, you're the king of grit. This is lo-fi. This is what we're going for, something different here.
Lo-fi is the new hi-fi, Johnny, believe me.
Right on. I'm gonna end on that note. So, Victor, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. You take care, man. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
People,
Okay.
keep the real deal blues around and buy my records while I'm still living. Muddy Waters is dead. John Lee Hooker passed away. Louisiana Red left us. And to be honest with you, I don't feel too good myself, lately.
All right.
Buy my records while I'm still living. Thank y'all. Take care.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot, Victor.
This has been No Border Blues with Johnny Bergen and Stephanie Tice.